Yeah, I don't know if this actually becomes a video or not, but just in case, welcome to Christian Balalaika, the channel where we talk about Christianity, Balalaikas, and stuff like that. Right now, it's actually 12:39 a.m. I'm in my bed, and I decided to find out about different things. So, a friend of mine told me that, there's something in my eye. Well, no, he actually didn't tell me that, but what he did tell me is that he said something like, during the time of Constantine, there were like Pentecostals that ran away into the mountains and caves. That they didn't like what Constantine was doing, so they ran away. They came out of the catacombs and came back. I'm like, oh, okay, are you sure? He's like, yeah. He said that they're called the Wild Waldensians, like spelled like this. Waldensians. So I decided, you know what? Let's see what ChatGPT says. Now, I understand you can edit ChatGPT and stuff. Alright, fine. But mostly I'm videoing this right now so I can come back to this information later and research it. But if this does make it to YouTube, then that's cool. All I have to do is really just Google and research everything that ChatGPT says and everything that my friends said and see if it's true or not. So according to ChatGPT, yeah, the Waldensians, they had nothing to do with Constantine. In terms of, no, they didn't personally know him. They lived in completely different centuries. According to ChatGPT, the Waldensians were named after Peter Waldo. This was the 12th century. Constantine lived in the early 4th century and ruled from this to this year in the AD. Then I asked, okay, tell me, did the early Christians come out of the catacombs when Constantine legalized Christianity? Is it true that when they came out, they were prophesying and speaking in tongues? Is it true that they quickly went back to the catacombs and also went to the mountains? And yeah, ChatGPT began telling me stuff. Now, look, I watched many Christian YouTubers from different denominations. I listened to podcasts. I read some books. I read the Bible. Well, not the whole Bible, but all the New Testament, yes. I never saw any of this stuff, that, like, all that happened was Constantine, he legalized Christianity, and Christians could now be free in many ways. They didn't have to go through persecution anymore. But what he's saying that there were Christians that were going under persecution by Constantine because they spoke in tongues and prophesied. I don't like nowhere have I ever seen information like that before. Okay, did early Christians come to the catacombs? I'm not gonna read everything. I might read some stuff. Again, this is really just for me to pause and research this later. Let's see. Now, the closest group that ChatGPT gave me was the Montanists, who lived in the 2nd century. They were very focused on prophecy and tongues, and that group seems like the closest group that my friend was talking about. I'm not gonna say his name because, well, first of all, I don't know his last name. Second of all, I don't want to gossip. But yeah. Then I asked a whole bunch of questions. There were groups that were persecuted by the church, the Catholic Church, but mostly in the medieval ages. If we go to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th centuries, many of these Christians, well, people who call themselves Christians, people like the Montanists, Novatians, Donatists, Paulicians, These people, they actually call themselves Christians, but they were not real Christians. And ChatGPT gives the reasons why. At least not real Christians according to the mainstream institutional church at the time. And then I saw some stuff, like, for example, the Donatists, they weren't persecuted, but they were wrong. Why? Because they would not accept Christians back into the church that, when were persecuted, abandoned the church. So, like, for example, they rejected bishops or clergy people who handed over scriptures or renounced Christ during persecution. Uh, they, they said a sinful priest can't give you a holy sacrament. Now, what's Saint Augustine? I'm guessing of Hippo. Yes, yes, that is a real guy, Saint Augustine of Hippo. Um, he said that God, not the priest's character, makes sacraments valid. Sacraments like baptism, communion, what else? Yeah, Waldensians, they still exist. They live in Italy. In 1532, they joined the Reformation, aligning with Calvinism. Now, my friend, who gave me the idea basically to do this stuff, he does not agree with Calvinism. So I'll just say that. Now, they're part of the Union of Methodists and Waldensian churches. Interesting. Why the Methodists? Because the Methodists they're not Calvinists in terms of their views on predestination. Okay, well then I guess why did they align themselves with Calvinism would be my question. Yeah, so if what ChatGPT says is true, then yeah, I would disagree with the Paulicians because they rejected the Old Testament. Like, yeah, even according to most Protestants, they're heretics. Next, the Bogomils. Interesting. They were located in the Balkans, in modern day Bulgaria or Bulgaria, I don't know, North Macedonia, Bosnia. These are all actually Slavic countries. The territory of the Balkans is filled with Slavic countries, and yeah, so I guess that kind of has connection to my YouTube channel. Now, they also believe that the material world was created by Satan, and that literally all of mainstream Christianity rejects. They say that no, the material world and spiritual world, the whole universe itself, was created by God. Heaven was created by God. Everything was created by God, and God said it was good. But then sin came, and sin said, well, not exactly that sin came. Actually, I'm not sure how to word it, but I'll say this. But when God created people, people allowed sin to corrupt the material and spiritual world. And so, when sin corrupted both the spiritual, different things in the spiritual and material world, those things were now ruled by Satan. And in fact, many of these things are still ruled by Satan. Because people, when they sin, they are slaves of their sins. But if they believe in Jesus Christ, they are no longer slaves of their sin. Maybe in future videos I can explain more of that. The point is, God created the material and spiritual world. Many parts of them were corrupted by sin, and thus are under the rule of Satan. But one of the goals of Christianity is that Jesus Christ, He reveals Himself through people and brings His light through those people. And this light will defeat the darkness. That everything will be reunited back with Jesus. That God will restore everything to goodness. Will free it from the power of sin, death, from the power of demons and Satan. This is one of the points of Christianity, that the universe will be freed from all evilness. Now, the Monatists, it seemed like they believed in tongues and prophecy. They really wanted it. And so this is the this is the last question I think I said. So, the Monatists just disappeared? Were they hunted down or killed to death? Did they believe any heresy about God or Jesus or any other heresy? And so, let's see. No, they were not wiped out. They weren't hunted down. They were like yes, they were declared heretics, but they weren't burned or killed by the sword. You know, not hunted with swords or fire. At least not on record. In fact, they survived for a couple centuries, even after being called heretical. And yeah, I remember ChatGPT showed like the number of years or something. Next. Did the Monatists believe in heresy about God or Jesus? Well, no, not exactly. But they believe in the Trinity, except the Bible. They believe Jesus as the Son of God, but they believed in this stuff, prophecy. Well, I don't really see too much wrong, technically, on a technical level with this. Female prophets. I'm pretty sure in the Bible there are female prophets. I gotta make sure. Now this, no remarriage even after a spouse died? What? Why? This goes against Christianity. If a woman wants, she can remarry after her spouse died. So I don't know what's up with this. Heavy fasting, okay. Harsh rules for repentance. The church said this went beyond. let me scroll down there. Harsh rules for repentance. The church said this went beyond the gospel and turned grace into legalism. Yeah, I agree. If the Monatists did all this stuff, then yeah, they definitely went beyond the gospel and turned grace into legalism. Like, bruh, come on. Next, they believed the end of the world was imminent, and that Montoas town, Papuza, would be the new Jerusalem. Crazy, bro. It just gives me like Mormon vibes, bro. And also, another guy who I think lived in the 70s or 80s in America. He took a whole bunch of people with him to a country in South America, and said that he is God and that no one else can call themselves God. That he was actually God. That he poisoned all those people there. I think his name was James. I think his name was I think it was Jamestown. Let's see, Jamestown, Virginia. No, wait, no, not Jamestown. It was something else. It was man, I actually forgot. Anyways, it was like a cult leader. Let me try that. Cult leader in America, 70s. Jamestown. Yeah, something like that. Jonestown. It was Jonestown. Yeah, this guy. He called himself God, and a lot of people believed him. So then they go on a plane, I think, all the way to a country in South America, and there um, he makes them drink a whole bunch of poison Kool-Aid. They drink it and then they die. Apparently, from what I remember, he did it because a lot of people were trying to escape. So that's interesting. Well, also sad, of course. But hey, how do I go back to ChatGPT? What the fridge? Anyways, yeah, I think they're definitely wrong. Let's see. Do that. Oh, wait, come on. Oh, okay. Now I'm back at ChatGPT. All right. Yeah, so that's weird. Yeah. Okay, so according to ChatGPT, no, Constantine didn't persecute any OG Pentecostals that fled to the catacombs and mountains. And it would make sense. Why? Because Constantine, he legalized Christianity. And he was just trying to figure out what Christianity is. So he gathered the bishops at the Council of Nicaea to ask him, what is Christianity all about? So there's no reason it will go back into the catacombs. The church and the government also were not tied together. It's kind of actually a myth that the church and the government became like the same thing during the time of Constantine, and they began to like kill and burn heretics. No, the church was still very young, and the church didn't have the power to kill heretics. They had to debate heretics. They had to prove heretics wrong to show that they are wrong. And it seems like they did that with all these Novatianists and Monetists and all these other Paulicians, Bogomils, all these other groups that ChatGPT showed. But yeah, yeah. Thanks for coming to the channel Christian Balalaika. Check out my other videos where I'm not as tired and sleepy. And yeah, I probably will go to sleep now. And see you next time.